Hello and welcome. My name is Nick Luby. I am co-host of this very brief show, and it's absolute pleasure of mine to welcome you to the pre-launch of the Eastern Fraud Forum, which launches proper on the 1st of February. I'll pass you over to my good friend, Mr. David Bell, who is on the board of the Eastern Fraud Forum, to explain a little bit about what is it. Over to you, David.
Thank you, Nick, and thank you for joining us, everyone. Pleasure to be here today, and also surrounded by a wealth of talent, which we're going to hear more from our guests here in the studio. Now, the Eastern Fraud Forum, we're going to hear more from our chair and to give us a bit more background, but the Eastern Fraud Forum was set up to support and help not just businesses, but anybody that feels that they're going to have or challenges with fraud and cyber crime as well, because cyber crime and fraud are very closely linked, and Francis will tell us a little bit more about the cyber side of things. But it's a pleasure to welcome Pammi Babbra here, our chair of the board. Pammi, welcome. Please tell us a little bit more about the Eastern Fraud Forum and what it's all about and how it's going to help everybody.
Hello there. Thanks so much, Nick, and also thanks, David. Yes, the Eastern Fraud Forum is a very exciting initiative, certainly for me, having been involved in fraud fora around London and the UK for some time. It's an initiative which brings together the public sector, the private sectors, other sectors, third sectors, charities, etc., to talk about, to provide an education to small businesses and various people, as you say, David, out there who are affected by fraud. The rise in fraud is phenomenal. And again, as you say, David, it doesn't just include cyber. Cyber is a huge part of it, a growing part of it, but all sorts of other, what I would call hard fraud as well, real fraud, where people are challenging, face challenges. So yes, we are launching. Our soft launch is due to take place at the ARU on the 1st of February, and looking forward to joining with my fellow board members there to kick it off.
As you say, Pammi, it's desperately needed out there, a lot of education for us all. Ideally, what will the forum achieve?
As I said, it's a coming together or a think tank, so to speak, of those various sectors. And we're a structured organisation whereby we provide an education through masterclasses, through webinars, all sorts of media that we can get the message out there as to how we all can come together, implement the necessary things that we need to implement, give you the general awareness of how to deal with fraudulent activity. We will also be having an annual conference, and I'm very, very keen and very much looking forward to joining with other initiatives that are already out there that provide that education, partnering up with other fora, other organisations to combat can only but add to the fight against fraud.
Brilliant. Thank you, Pammi. Let's move to Francis. Francis is not only a small business owner, but a director on the board for the Eastern Fraud Forum, but an expert in cyber, which fits very, very closely alongside fraud. Good morning to you, Francis.
Morning, David.
So tell us a little bit more about your active role here and how you see cybersecurity and fraud sitting very closely together and how it's affecting so many businesses and people around the country.
Great question. You know, we were at a launch of the London Cyber Resilience Centre of London only before Christmas, you know, and the figures that they were talking about, how many especially small businesses between 1 and 10, there's about 5 million of them in the UK. And so many of them are suffering from cases, whether it's cyber or fraud or both, you know, and it's up to people like us and the public to start educating everybody else. And that's why, you know, I was delighted to be asked to come and sit on this panel, because I take part of, I think it's now 7 when I counted last, but I would say that the Eastern Fraud Forum is probably one of the most proactive forums that I currently serve on. And we've even got as far as we've even got a chat on the website. So if you go to easternfraudforum.co.uk, you can chat, and one of us will respond normally within 24 hours or so. So there's no question about fraud or cyber related that you shouldn't feel that you can't ask us, because we are here to help as many people as possible.
Yeah, brilliant. Thank you very much for that, Francis. And Paul, you add so much value to the board, coming with a wealth of knowledge. Also, the board of the Cyber Resilience Centre as well. Tell us a bit more about your role, Paul, and how you're going to be helping the Eastern Fraud Forum become more proactive and stamp out fraud.
Thank you, David. Good morning, everybody. So when I first met Pammi a few months ago, it became quite clear that it was something, the Eastern Fraud Forum was something that we needed to get involved in. So as the managing director of the Eastern Cyber Resilience Centre, we already do a lot of work with businesses across the Eastern region. But as Francis has already said, there's a huge crossover between fraud and cyber. Fraud's the outcome, and cyber is the route that the fraud is committed by. And it made perfect sense for myself and for the centre to step up and join the Eastern Fraud Forum to help them to promote fraud across the Eastern region as well.
So can I ask you, Paul, a quick question, David?
Go.
Paul, do you remember when we had that last meeting face-to-face in London? You mentioned a figure of all the fraud currently being committed in the UK. What percentage of that is actually now cyber fraud?
Yeah, so the current stats nationally are that so 80%, 80% of all crime recorded in the United Kingdom by the police is fraud, and the vast majority of that is obviously online fraud. And I'm coming to this as well as being the MD of the Cyber Resilience Centre. I'm also a police officer as well, so it seems slightly disingenuous of me, but the fact is that the police haven't got a huge amount of resources to investigate that. 1% of the police budget is used to investigate fraud in the UK. So the only way we can really have a significant impact, all of us working together, is to get in front of it and to help people protect themselves and become less likely to become victims in the first place.
Brilliant. Firstly, thank you for all of us joining in here in the studio this morning. It's been great to have that conversation and talk about the launch, which is officially on the 1st of February, Anglo Ruskin University in Chelmsford, where we will see the bottle of champagne, the cork exploding out of the bottle to launch the Eastern Fraud Forum and set ourselves on the way. If you want to find out more about the Eastern Fraud Forum, you can visit the website at easternfraudforum.com, or of course, find us on all those social media channels, Twitter, Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. Pammi, a final word from you about fraud and how we're going to stamp it out.
Well, gosh, I'm just very much looking forward to joining the initiative. I should have said in my initial opening that the areas that we cover are in the Eastern region: Norfolk, Suffolk, Cambridgeshire, Hertfordshire, Bedfordshire, and Essex. And I'm very much looking forward to making our footprint in those areas in this fight.
Well, there we go. Thank you very much, and great to have you here today. And we look forward to finding out more about the Eastern Fraud Forum in the future. Until then, bye-bye.
Thank you.